Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name's Jade, and this is, of course, The Interview. And today we've got Matt Hanchuck from, of course, Wreck-Defy and Gutter Creek. And we're going to be talking metal today, so grab a hold of your ankles, bitches. Let's kick it off with Wreck-Defy dissecting the leech. Let's ouch. What's going on, bitches? How you all doing? Well, my name's Jade. There's my tag. Don't wear it out. Welcome to the show. Hope you're doing okay, yeah? Pretty damn good, huh? That's the kind of stuff I grew up listening to. That's my wheelhorse. That's the stuff that I wanted to go out and punch people in the face to when I was a youngster growing up because I was an aggressive piece of crap. And we're going to hear heaps more of that today. So that is Wreck-Defy with our special guest today, Matt. Good to see you all. It was a big day yesterday. We got a new channel launch coming up this weekend. Lots of stuff happening, so stay tuned to the channel and all of that. And hey, if you enjoy this stuff, hit the like, do this stuff, hang around. We got lots of great music coming up, of course. I need to mention this because today's show is, of course, sponsored by our good friends at DistroKid. DistroKid, you can release all of your music for the ridiculously idiotic price of $24.99 annually. And if you use my code that's all over the place on the screen in the description, distrokid.com/VIP/Jade Starr, you'll get 7% off your first year. And that's a saving we can all do with because the world is stupid and everything's expensive. And if you can save a bit of money releasing your music, you should do so. There are 3 plans from DistroKid: the Musicians Plus, the Ultimate Plan. Musician, you get 1 artist, unlimited songs, unlimited albums, Spotify checkmark for what that's worth these days. Create your royalty splits for people in your band and all that jazz. You get promotional tools and you can do it all from your iOS app or your iPad. Wicked stuff. The Musicians Plus one, $44.99. You get 2 artists. The Ultimate Plan, $89.99. That's the one I use because I'm greedy and I've got too many bands. $89.99 a year, and you get 5 artists, and you can add more if you like. A la carte, you know the deal. I've been using DistroKid way before they sponsored this show back in 2016, and I'm incredibly happy with the service and very thankful that DistroKid sponsors this show. So, you know the deal, folks. Thanks, DistroKid. I love you, DistroKid. Anyway, so let's get our guest on and stop yammering about. We've never done an interview with someone from their truck today. That's very exciting. I can see Matt sitting in his truck. It's very exciting. Let's bring him on. We're going to talk metal. So sit your asses down and let's talk metal up each other's asses. That sounded weird. I shouldn't say that again. Without further ado, Matt Hanchuck. Let's bring him on. Let's get some applause. Yeah. How you going, Matt? Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on. How are you?
I'm doing well, How's Canada today? Is it cold? Looks nice.
It is unseasonably cold. Yeah, it is nice. It's sunny. The sun's in my face here, but you know, it's about we're about a month behind where we should be in terms of weather. So I just built a greenhouse this past, well, in the last week and a half here from scrap material, and I'm reluctant to put anything in it because we keep getting frost every morning. So
right.
I'm still getting a heavy frost. And actually, quite honestly, if I drive a few kilometers up the road here, there's still snow where the sun doesn't hit, you know, most of the day. It stays pretty much shaded. There's still big snow banks up the road here, and today's here's the 14th of May, so I know it's a day later where you are.
Well, we're ahead, yeah. And I can tell you the world still exists, right? I'm the future prophet. I get to tell people if we're still here.
Yeah.
But hey, does weather exist anymore?
Yeah.
Seasons don't really exist anymore. I mean, here we're supposed to be heading into winter here, and it's sunny and like going to be 22 degrees Celsius here today. What? Okay, whatever. Whatever. It's that kind of place we're at. Now, I was put in contact I first came across your music a fair while ago from our dear friend Brad Example, and then we get a lot of Canadians here. Gary Hubbs, he's another Canadian who's in the chat right now. Big metalhead. He's got a cool metal act as well. Lots of Canadians. So Brad put me in touch with your music, and very, very heavy stuff. As I said in the beginning, reminds me of the early stuff I used to get into, like Annihilator and Exodus and all that kind of stuff, before somebody put some headphones on my ears and introduced me to Morbid Angel, and then I wanted to stab everybody. It's the way it happens with metal, right? Well, before I'll ask you the first question I ask everybody on here. What does music actually mean to you?
Music to me is all things cathartic. It's it's one of those things that it transcends politics, which is a big divider today. It transcends, race, ethnicity, all kinds of essentially obstacles that are prevalent in other sporting events, for example. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of hostility. You watch a UFC event and you see some guy from Australia fighting some guy from Kentucky, and you got the fucking rednecks going, USA, USA. It's that bullshit bravado shit. What I'm getting at is you don't get that with music. It's just either you connect with it or you don't, and you find what does work for you. But it's empowering, it's immortalizing mentally, it's and cathartic, I think, on so many levels for so many people. And another thing about music is that it's not absolute, in the sense that you write a song, and maybe as a songwriter the song meant something to you personally, or you conceived of the idea through some sort of inspiration that you drew from somewhere, but then someone else perceives something completely different from that song, and yet it still works for them. Do you know what I'm alluding to here?
Absolutely.
It still works for them and that's not what your intentions were as the songwriter. So I think that's one of the few things that in the world of art that you can really do that. I guess images too can be interpreted from various different, standpoints, but I mean, kind of films are kind of what they are. Films are sort of, what you see on the screen is what it is. I think music, depending on the frequency that you're getting as a person, you see it differently. For some people, a ballad might get them, depressed, and someone else, it might get them excitable. So there's something really unique about music and its ability to cross all boundaries and transcend all borders, man. So yeah, anyway. So I'm rambling now, but
hey, look, that's what this is. It's your show.
To answer your question in a nutshell, it's cathartic. That's why I dig music. Yeah.
Hey, look, that's what I love it. I love. I want to hear your views, right? And you touch on something really important there. When I used to do this show, I used to stupidly come back from a song and go, "So tell us what that song means." And I stopped doing that because I feel like sometimes it breaks the illusion for some people. Like, you have a meaning for that song, and then you sit there and go, well, it means this, and somebody else has listened to that song, they love it, and they've taken something completely different, and it's meant so much to their life, and you as the artist have just shattered their fucking interpretation of it, right? So I stopped asking that question.
Perhaps, yeah,
right?
For sure.
Because you're right, we all hear things different. It's like trying to do headphone reviews on a YouTube channel. You can't do it because we all hear things different. We all intake things completely different. There's no way I can tell you these headphones are better than another. And it's the same with music. You're going to interpret different. So on a different kind of question, but similar, because as metalheads, and I'm sure you went through the same thing you're probably around the same age as me. It was a different time, man, growing up. When we were listening to metal when we were young, I remember I started listening to metal when I was probably 12 or 13. And fucking people thought we were devils. People wanted to punch my head in for it. And, it was, but to me, it was more than music, right? I found a sense of belonging. Like I finally found people who understood who I was, and the music was this vehicle. How did you find metal? Who was the first? Was there a first metal band that you heard the first time? Just got to get into this. Tell us your metal journey and how that went down.
It was a transition from really fast. Like I went from essentially listening to or acquiring music. I was growing up at home listening. There was always Rolling Stones on and stuff like that at home. So I was predisposed to that rhythm and blues kind of, heroin ridden sort of rock and roll swagger stuff. And Elton John, all that stuff, that sort of era. Yep. And the 70s arena rock stuff, and from there, I discovered Kiss and I discovered AC/DC kind of in that, and both of those bands for me were just the best thing on the world, on the planet rather. And then around the age of 12, so that would have been age 11 that I acquired cassettes and stuff, on my own. And then around the age of 12, I heard Megadeth for the first time, and that just kind of changed my life, and it was the sonicness of it. I don't know. It's hard to explain to people. there's an interesting interview about what's that? Get Thrashed, I believe, is the name of the documentary. It came out many years ago now,
Yes,
but
I remember.
There's a segment in the interview where Phil Anselmo, he was in a rough time in his life and he was kind of nodding off. But one of the things he said, he's like, when he talks about Metallica and he describes that tonal quality that they brought, he's like, that fucking crunch, they had it before anyone else. That's kind of what I got first time I heard that. Like the first time I heard Megadeth do it, what it was just like, wow, like what is that? Like you can do that on a guitar, so it just kind of like blew my mind because I thought AC/DC was the heaviest thing, and then all of a sudden now it's tame by comparison. It's all of a sudden it sounds like my parents' music. It's like, what is this stuff? So I went down the rabbit hole, immersed myself into the thrash stuff like right away, like age 12 to 13. I would say that my favorite band really quickly was Overkill. And that was 89. I was 13. That's when the Years of Decay came out. And it changed my life. It made me want to play guitar. And from that point on, I never looked back. I've never changed my I've broadened my sort of my acceptance of other music. Like I've gotten less ignorant to other music as I've gotten older. But I still always have that comfort zone with that cathartic element that thrash gives me, those double bass chug patterns and stuff that, all those bands from the Bay Area brought to the table. I crave that, it just, my DNA is designed to eat that up. So that'll always be a mainstay for me musically. And like I said, the transition was quick. I got into like hard rock, if you will, heavy metal, as what was viewed as heavy metal at that time. And then I don't even think I know what the moniker thrash would have been when I'd heard that. That would have come after the fact, and then all of a sudden I would have realized, hey, I guess I like thrash.
Yeah. British,
British and also around that time, like 88, 89, Much Music in Canada, which was like the Canadian spin-off of MTV. They had this thing called the Power Hour, and it was very parallel to MTV in that throughout the whole segment, you'd have like 2 songs that were legit heavy thrash bands. Everything else was like poppy glam stuff. So you'd have to, like, if that wasn't your trip, and it certainly wasn't mine back then, you had to painfully sit through that whole hour to get to those whatever bands. But not in the day I didn't, but you know what? Today I can appreciate some of the like, because I'm a songwriter myself now, so it's hard for me not to appreciate. You look at a song like Every Rose Has Its Thorn, and it's like I could never conceive of that because I couldn't write a 3-chord, 4-chord song and be content with it.
Right.
Like on my end, there has to be more technical nuances for me to really enjoy it, But then I see what that guy is able to do with that song, and it's like, my God, the guy, there's grandmothers in their 80s that like that song. Like that's pretty impressive to be able to say that you've touched that many people from that one end of the spectrum to the other. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Well, maybe they had. Well, I'm sure 40 years ago. 40 years, yeah. Don't forget that dropped in 92. So yeah,
true, right? You bring up a good point, right? Because I was the same, man. I was listening to Alice Cooper and a bit of Motley Crue, and it was, I heard Metallica and was like, what the fuck, and Megadeth, but then it was one day somebody outside of a science class in high school, first year of high school, somebody put some headphones on their little tape Walkman on my head and played Rain in Blood, and that was the end. That was the end of dog racing forever. As soon as I heard Slayer, it was like, wow, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. And still to this day, I hear Slayer and just go, well, that's still the peak level for me. But it's interesting because, all those bands, it is a very fast descent into metal. Like I think a lot of people share the same thing. You fly through and then all of a sudden you're in thrash, and then all of a sudden you listen to Nordic black metal, and where did it all go, right? Because there's so much variety in metal that I think people don't never really understood. They just see it as, oh, it's evil. I don't understand. I'm sure you heard it all before, right? I can't understand the lyrics.
I still do. I continue to hear it. Yeah,
right? I like the music. I just don't understand the lyrics.
Yeah.
All right, we'll come
back
we'll come back to metal as well too as we go on. But do you recall the music as a kid? Because you know, I listened to a lot of 80s music when I was a kid. I'm born in the 70s. The music growing up in your house that your parents played. Who were some of those artists, and have they inspired what you do now?
Yeah, like the number one artist in my household was the Rolling Stones. Like I touched on that earlier, and you know, there's an era there. Like I love the Stones, you know, and you know, for a lot of people, it's, are you a Stones or a Beatles person? Well, for me, I'm both. But if I had to pick one, I would self-identify as a Stones fan first, you know, but it doesn't to say that I'm not a Beatles fan. It's just the Stones speaks to me more. It's got more of a dirtier, grungier, kind of stripped down, more of a blue collar thing that I kind of connect with more. That's all. It's got more of like that rhythm and blues, sort of like Motown kind of vibe with a lot of the stuff that they have. There's a swagger to it, you know, and you know, that music I find has filtered into my songwriting unconsciously today. When I listen to some of the melodies that I have crafted in a lot of the music that I've written, you know, what 10, 11 records that I've written, I've never omitted the melody, you know, like I've never tried to write a Slayer album, you know, or tried to be super heavy for the sake of heavy, you know. So never lost sight of where's the hook, you know, in that song, where's the sing-along part. Or I used to have this theory where we can hug them in the chorus and we can spit on them in the verse. You know what I mean? Kind of create this roller coaster sort of effect. And I think a lot of that comes from that early listening to, you know, like the Rolling Stones and like Elton John, you know, and then bands like Boston, you know, Foreigner, April Wine. I absolutely think, and a lot of that music too, what it does have, it may lack distortion, but it certainly doesn't lack guitars. It's very guitar driven, you know, so I could hear that because that being my instrument of choice, you know, it always stood out to me in the mix. I was always listening to the guitar parts. So yeah, I guess, you know, without really getting too deep into it, I think it definitely carries over into my writing, what I grew up listening to. And I think that's the reason that there's that melodic component that never, like I said, gets omitted from a Wreck-Defy song or a Gutter Creek song, you know.
I always feel, I fell down the path as well too. I mean, I guess it's who you hang out with. You hang out with a lot of metalheads I hung out with when I was young. They're like, oh, you can't listen to that. That's not metal. And I'd be like, well, I can listen to it. Like there's no rule, but you know, hey, whatever. But you touch on a little bit there. As you get older, right, you don't necessarily turn around and go, I love Britney Spears, but you can turn around and appreciate, like, hey, look, this appeals to people, right? It's got something, because it may not appeal to my ear, but there's fucking songwriting behind it. All this, everything has like ability behind it. And you're absolutely right. You know, there's so many influences that make up metal. It's ridiculous. You know, without rock and roll, we wouldn't have fucking metal, would we? Right? It's the onset of guitars and all of that. Now, folks, today on the show, so Matt is in two bands. We're playing music from Wreck-Defy and his other band, Gutter Creek. So we'll be switching them back and forward. So you're getting a mix of stuff today. We'll say hello to everybody in the chat. I see there's over 20 of you here. It's kind of you to join us today. Hit the like and do the stuff, right? Let's talk about, I love this question because it makes my guest have to go back into the recesses of their mind to try to remember shit like this. What was the first album that you bought with your own money and was given to you as a gift by somebody?
The first album was AC/DC, Who Made Who.
Yeah,
that was on cassette.
Right.
That was the first thing I bought. Yeah, that was because it was kind of like the greatest hits, right?
Yeah.
So I had everything on it at that time. The first gifted album. It's oh man. So it's either Constrictor. It's either Alice Cooper Constrictor or it's Kiss Rock and Roll Over.
Wow.
It's one or the other. But both of those, yeah, that was like when I was coming of age with the music, I got kind of everything all at once. Within like 6 months, I acquired the catalogs of all these bands, right? And but it was around that era. It was like 80. Yeah, because Who came out in 86? Constrictor. Yeah, I think it was Constrictor. Constrictor was 86. So that makes sense now. I would say it was Constrictor, and then shortly after it would have been Rock and Roll Over. Because that was like my holy trinity of tapes for a while. Those 3 tapes. Everywhere I went, I had those tapes. So I'm going to grandma's house. I'm bringing my tapes. Why? I don't know.
Mine was
because I want to have them with me.
Yeah, mine was Kiss Unmasked from my grandmother of all people. Right? It's just like
right on.
All right, she's on it.
Shandy.
Oh yeah, hey, I remember that when I was every morning they play that on the TV as a video clip before I went to school. My grandmother, what she gave me with it, she bought me the Kiss makeup box as well too. And mate, I would go everywhere in that makeup, to the library. Fuck, I just didn't give a shit as a kid. I'd go everywhere dressed as Ace Frehley. Who gives a shit?
Well, Kiss was like, Kiss was as popular as Kiss was here. My understanding, like the reading I've done in the documentaries I've seen, is that Kiss was really, like in Australia and Japan, Kiss were like on another level. So they were like Marvel superheroes before there were any, you know.
Japan for sure, yeah, because they released there's a lot of
and Australia too. They had quite the love affair with Australia, yeah.
Yeah, I saw him here at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. That's our biggest sporting arena in Australia, right? So that's how big they were back then. You know, there was late 70s. I saw them there. My dad took me along. He regretted every fucking moment of that. Let me tell you, he hated it. Let's play a track, folks. Are we ready? We're going to play another track. We're going to keep the heavy flowing. This is Gutter Creek, Matt's other band, and we're going to play on with the show. So grab your ankles and let's get some heavy stuff chugging. Let's Oge, baby.
more whiskey cokes sounded good to me. 1 or 2 more beers and we're feeling fine. 2 or 3 more hours, we're out of our minds. A little bit more bass guitar, a whole lot of drums. Turn up that lead guitar, oh hell, we've just begun.
Those lyrics seem like they were written by Brad Example. Are you guys all the same?
You know what? The idea with Gutter Creek, so the idea with Gutter Creek is to be a complete contrast of what Wreck-Defy is.
Absolutely.
From a lyrical perspective. So yeah, so it's more of just having a more of a cliched / kind of fun. You know, it's just a different vibe. It's a little more comical, upbeat. You know, obviously the music's very serious in terms of the quality of the music, but the lyrics are a little different. It's but there is some introspective stuff in Gutter Creek too. It's not all like that, but you know, like we have a song called Leaf of Faith, which is like, I'm a huge proponent of marijuana as an alternative to psychopharmaceuticals, like, you know, like the barbiturates or any type of I was on some of that stuff. Like I suffered PTSD. I was in Afghanistan. I was a police officer for, a quarter century. So I was, prescribed benzodiazepines and all that stuff. And it really did reroute my brain to the point where when I went off that stuff, I took myself off of it cold turkey. I almost died. Like, I literally almost died. The withdrawals were so frigging unbearable. But having said that, I didn't want to be a slave to it forever. So that's long past, I'm well beyond that. And the doctors, I don't know if they have my best interest or not. I know, like, the big pharma doesn't. So lucky for me, the veterans program, there was an incentive back in like 2019. They reached out to me, Veterans Affairs Canada, and they said, "Hey, would you consider going on the marijuana program that we're offering?" It was like 2 grams a day, so 60 grams a month. They provide it to you, and it comes from this canopy grow up place out of Smith Falls, Ontario, Canada. It's all government regulated stuff. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sure it's full of glyphosate. Anyway, point of the story is I never smoked weed. I was one of those guys, because my career was law enforcement, like, and I got hired like in my 22 years old.
You were busting
I
people
never
for
really
it.
You know what? I was and I wasn't. We can get into that too. I wasn't that guy. No, I wasn't that guy, man. Not every cop is a Gestapo. Trust me. Some of us are common sense. They're not all thugs. But having said that, I responded amazingly to it. Like sure, there was the stone, you get the euphoric stone quality, you're getting stoned or whatever, but my sleep problems went away, and it's like all these issues that medication was supposed to fix, which quite frankly, in some cases made matters worse. They gave me other issues with, your brain and stuff, especially if you didn't have the medication. So that's a whole other issue there. Whereas the marijuana, like I said, I responded so quickly to it that it knocked me out when I couldn't sleep, and if I couldn't eat, my appetite suppression, there was no issue with that. You'd eat everything in the friggin' house if you wanted to, So there was these benefits to it that most definitely could be considered medicinal quality benefit, or medicinal properties. So anyway, the last Wreck-Defy or Gutter Creek album, there's also a song in there called Leaf of Faith, and it's all about the positive usefulness of marijuana and THC. So not to glorify drug use, but specifically marijuana, which I don't see it as a drug. I don't see it as a drug.
It's a
I
plant.
really don't.
It's a plant.
I see the shit that they give you at the counter at the pharmacy, a drug that creates severe dependency, a lot of it. And if you get into the painkillers, that's even worse, right?
Yeah.
That's like ruins lives on a daily basis. Yeah. People with the best of intentions too, right? Some everyday walk of life dude breaks his foot, his ankle, his leg, and he ends up caught up on pain med. That's a all too common story. So yeah, marijuana, if you can find benefit in it, my God, take advantage of it, and don't let the reefer madness bullshit dissuade anyone.
What a great film that is. I remember seeing Reefer Madness when I was very young, and
for
I was
all
like,
the wrong reasons, right? It's so over the it's so brilliant. Over the top.
It made me want to smoke pot.
Yeah.
Myself, I smoked pot my whole life.
Oh shit.
I smoked pot my whole life, and
right on. Yeah.
Now that here you can get it like through the government as well too. You just see some doctor on a phone call, and bang, you've got it, and this shit's incredible. It helps so many people. I agree with you on so many other things, right? I studied like psychology and stuff. Was going to be a psychiatrist, and I pulled out of it because I started to see that it was all about the medication. And it started to not be about helping people and more about, we'll just put you on this. And, hey, the depression exists, all this stuff exists, but, the best way out is to give people hope to be able to climb out of it, not put them on something that's going to fucking leave them in a clouded state. That's my opinion. But in some cases, some people's brains need it, right? Like, we're all so different. Some people's brains react the right way, some people's don't. And, look, pot's awesome. Let's just say pot's awesome. Who gives a shit, right? So,
leap of faith, if you will.
Absolutely. And it helps so many people. Like, I'll tell you, the one thing that really made me think, pot is brilliant. One of my friends' mothers, she had Alzheimer's and the shakes really bad. And they put her on the pot, and as soon as she had a joint, shakes gone. She could remember everybody's fucking name during the whole time she was stoned. Jesus, if you can give that to somebody, that's the greatest gift on the planet when they're losing their fucking mind, right? Pretty hard.
There's been all kinds of proven research too with regards to what it's done to mitigate seizures.
Yes.
In not only children but also animals as well. I've read that there's been research studies where pets, specifically dogs, and they had some sort of CBD. I think dogs have an issue with THC. The receptors don't vibe; they'll get sick. But the CBD works in them as well for some reason. And then obviously with children who seize with some frequency, like you say, that goes away. Like it literally all symptoms are gone during the administration and ingestion of THC. Like the liquid drops under the tongue. Obviously, some kid's not going to smoke a joint, but
no.
There's different ways to administer that. So there again, though, but that just ties into the whole medicinal qualities, right? There's more to it than just getting a buzz, right? So the Cheech and Chong thing is one thing, but it's not what it's all about,
Absolutely. So let's talk about you actually learning music, right? Because I love this question. So it's a two-part question. So here in Australia, we have a very robust school system where music is mostly in all of our school systems. You get the option to do music, and I took it up as much as I could when I was young. Do you have that? Did you have that when you were young? And did they force you to learn the recorder?
With a gun to your head? No, they didn't. No. High school?
Yeah.
Let me think about this. So wait a minute. No, grade 8, I bought my first guitar.
Right.
It was a Yamaha SE 112. I consider today it would parallel to a canoe paddle with strings on it. It was a piece of shit. But at the same time, that's what I cut my teeth with it. I learned how to play, all those old Metallica riffs and stuff with it. So I got it, what is what it is, right? And that's all I could afford, So but anyway, I started playing around grade 8. How old are you? 12, I guess. 12, 13. And I play upside down. I play like a really precarious way. I don't know if you are aware of this.
You're left-handed, aren't you?
My strings are inverted. I'm left-handed, but the strings are strung for a right-handed player. So my big E string is on the bottom. So I literally take a right-handed guitar and just flip it upside down and play.
I love it.
So... And I'll tell you the story behind this, though.
Yeah,
I'm glad you asked me this, because there's nobody, I don't get to talk about this. But so where I grew up in this Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. It's really small, blue collar, steel town. At the time, maybe 75,000 people, maybe at our peak, right? With students at the university and everything. So, we don't have a big guitar store center type thing. At that time, there's a place called Arnill's Music, which was a fantastic guitar store. But they had limited inventory, and back then, the only left-handed guitar they had in the store was a $3,000 Les Paul. I remember that. So it's like, well, I'm never even going to ask to play that, because so anyways, I ended up just buying a right-handed guitar, that Yamaha I told you about. And it was a couple, $250 or something. Many lawns had to be cut for that guitar, but regardless. And then it was suggested to me that I get the strings changed. The guy at the store didn't offer to do it, but he suggested to me that I get the strings changed. It's like, yeah. But when I got home, I just fiddled with it. I immersed myself so deeply into this thing that I started actually learning things with the way the strings were strung. And then, you know what? Within like 6 months, I learned like some songs like front to back, like the song Whiplash by Metallica was like the first song I ever learned, the whole song, not the guitar solo, but the whole rhythmic part, like within 6 months of playing. And then I learned the Four Horsemen and Motor Breath and then Am I Evil? And so at one point I was like, well, now I don't want to change the strings because I don't want to relearn everything.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. I won't be able to know how to play anything. You know what I mean? I already know I'm learning how to play stuff. So it just stuck, and I'm not the only one that plays like that. Like Eric Gales, I don't know if you know who he is. He's a black guy. I think he's from Atlanta. He plays the same way, and he's really good. Like he's got this kind of a Hendrix on steroids kind of vibe going on, but his strings are inverted too. And then there's a German thrash band called Paradox, and the main driving force of that band is a guy named Charlie Steinhauer, and he plays the same way too. Strings are inverted. And then big mountain of a man, black guy from the Motown era named Albert King. He also plays the same way with the strings inverted. So there's at least 4 of us. There's a few of us out there, though.
I love that. But
there is,
what?
It's not that on. Well, no, people sent me stuff.
Right.
People actually sent me stuff. Yeah. Awesome. And it made me feel like I wasn't alone.
Yeah, right. Is it I guess it would be a talking point too, because you play a gig and you got your people who follow you around in your band, and you've got people up the front, and they'd see you playing and be like, what the fuck is going on there?
Yeah. It's hard for some people to here's the thing though, like, I can't read music.
Right.
So there's that. So I can't read music at all. I can read guitar tabs, obviously, like the old school tabs, the numeric thing there. But, Yeah, but I mean that you'd have, it's kind of simple. How can you not read tabs, right? But as far as like any real study, I took vocal lessons, grade 10 vocal lessons, and I took grade 11 guitar, and I had good music teachers. Like the music teachers were the people that I got along with most at school because they were just seemed to be like the hippiest, kind of down to earth. They were, I know at some schools you'd have like your math teacher also taught music, or the history teacher taught music. But the schools that I went to, the music teachers were the music teachers. That's all they taught. So there was like this kind of, I looking back on it, 100%, those guys were smoking weed.
Yeah,
but there was like there was more of a disconnect vibe from the rest of the teacher staff. It was just and to this day, I'm still friends with like Mark Goff, who was like my grade 11 guitar teacher. Because anyway, there was like a musical connection. Again, going back to that first question you asked about what music meant to me, is it the way it can brings people together, and the way, like, I connected with a school teacher, you know what I mean, who was 15 years older than me, and I still talk to him today because there's a connection around music.
Yep.
Like that's super cool to have that. So anyway, because it transcends everything, including age, like there's people that listen to, like we're talking about the Rolling Stones when I was like 10 years old, 9 years old. I remember that being played at home, and here I sit today, almost 50 years old. I still dig that stuff. So that's incredible that it spans that,
Look, again, that's why I talked about earlier in the beginning about metal being, it feels like an exclusive club to me. I know, I told you before we came on, I'm trans, and I was in the metal scene for years, and, as a dude, right? So everybody knew me. And when I came out, nearly all the fuckwits who I lost as friends had nothing to do with the metal community. All the metalheads are just like, we don't give a shit. We've seen you cut your arm up on stage with a machete. This is just something mild. Who cares? You're going to grow some... I hope you turn out looking attractive. Would I want to fuck you? Right? Because that's metal, right? And that's around music too, right? People, we're on a different level as musicians. It's another language. Absolutely is another language. I think if more people spoke the language of music, we probably wouldn't be in the mess we're in with the world at the moment. But here we are, right? So, first band name that you ever were in.
First band name ever?
Yeah, the first one.
Vile Disturbance.
I love
True
it.
story. Shout out to Johnny Roberts. Johnny Roberts was the drummer.
Vile Disturbance. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wish I had a cool one. Mine was at random. It was really boring. They were really boring anyway. Compared to these days, I play.
You know what? We were playing like Flotsam and Jetsam covers.
Oh,
and,
wow.
Zentrix. I don't know if you remember the band Zentrix from the UK.
Yes.
We played a couple tracks off that Shattered Existence record. We specifically went after bands and picked songs that no one was like were aware of, like we on purpose.
Right. What about your first gig in a band? Was it a big crowd? Was it an empty place? Did the dog get in for free?
First gig, I was like 17 years old.
Yeah.
And it would have been at a bar. 100, 150 people type thing.
Hey, that's good.
Same size crowds we draw now.
Right. So, well, that's a good question, right? While we're sitting here before we play our next song, how has like here in Australia, when I was growing up, man, the Melbourne metal scene was the place, right? So many good acts from here, Mortal Sin, and just so many big Australian acts did really well here. Bramelin and Damaged and Blood Duster. And, it was the home of metal. Sydney sucked because they were already filling their venues with poker machines or slot machines, so the venues were dying. But Melbourne was just metal everywhere. And even now, like there still are some places that are still open after, 40 years of going to gigs. How much has the scene changed there in audiences, and has the same thing happened with people companies buying old venues that used to be favorites for band venues and turning them into shitty watered down pubs that now nobody goes to? Has that kind of happened, or what's been the evolution of the music scene?
So a lot of places just aren't there anymore to play at, like you said. Like a lot of the clubs that, like you're talking about Sydney, rather, like it's the same idea, at least where I am here now. A lot of the bars, the clubs that allowed these metal bands, you could have capacities of 450 plus people in some of these venues. They're just not there anymore. Those clubs just don't exist. The infrastructure's gone, right? So they've changed it into, like you say, slot this or whatever it is now, but it's just not that anymore. So, but one of the issues that I've found that's happened here, and a lot of it's happened in the last decade, I would say, is the lack of support within the independent community for each other. Yeah. There seems to be a divide now, even to the point where people aren't supporting each other's bands. And it really bothers me because, look, I don't do this for money. I'm on a full pension, and I don't have a life of luxury or anything, but I'm not destitute. I don't need to sell t-shirts or anything. I enjoy music so much, and like it's such an important part of my world as a person. I listen to it, I love it as a fan, and I love creating it and putting it out there for others to find. So, and it's something I'll always do in some capacity, be it Wreck-Defy, Gutter Creek. I got an acoustic project I'm currently working on, like an unplugged record. If you want to chat about that later, but geez, I'm losing track here. What was the question again? Sorry.
I don't know. No, the music scene, how it's changed.
about the scene. So what's happened here though is there's a lot of there's been a lot of wedges driven between bands and stuff, and bands just aren't supporting each other like they should. I'll give you an example. So, a local artist in Winnipeg is a good example, because I was in that scene for many years too, in the Manitoba music scene there, and specifically the city of Winnipeg. Vibrant city, lots of musical talent, an abundance of places to play, and everyone knows each other, but you'll never see the other bands show up to support the other band's shows. Right. It's mind-blowing to me. It's like that should be, when you watch those documentaries back in the day about the thrash bands from the 80s in the Bay Area, it was like common play. It was like par for the course. They would talk about, whoever was playing, you look in the crowd and there would be James Hetfield and Gary from Exodus, and while your band was on the stage, and then after the show, everyone would kind of get together and go party at wherever, and have some sort of social gathering. But the point I'm making is, it was just, there seemed to be more of some sort of camaraderie that's missing now, that's no longer there, or it's no longer as prevalent as it once was. Let's say that for sure, with certainty. I guess I shouldn't say it's not there, but it's just not how it used to be. And I find that there's a lot of competition now, a lot of backbiting. Yeah. And I don't partake in that shit, man. For me, the whole thing, like we talked about earlier too, is how this stuff's supposed to bring us together, this whole musical thing, this experience, this ride of life we're all on, sharing songs and stuff. The last thing I want to do is bicker about stuff that I get nothing but joy from, which is music. The last thing I want to do is bicker about it. So if I can't find common ground with a band or something, then I just kind of keep my mouth shut, and just sort of keep my distance.
Well, it used to be
don't
like
want any
that.
Controversy. Too old.
It used to be like that here as well too. Because ultimately you can't like every band, right? You're not going to have you're not going to like every fucking band. That's just the reality. But I remember the band I used to play, and we were like, Despised was my band for many years, and we were like meshing fucking grindcore with jazz and fusion. We were like Mr. Bungle before Mr. Bungle existed, and nobody ever knew where to put us. But we'd always end up with some technical thrash band, and then the next gig we're playing with sludge grindcore bands, and next gig we're playing with a bunch of like bands like with high pitched vocalists. But we all just like got along, right? And that was the thing. I love that we could play with all those different bands. I don't know how much of that is kind of going on now because I don't really go out much these days, because I've found this community. What's really interesting about this community we have here and the people who are here, we have a whole lot of channels, Matt, across YouTube here, where we've got like a show, Thomas Christ, who's my moderator here. He does a show where he plays people's music each week. So you send your tracks and it's like an MTV show. Pete Johns does the same. There's a whole bunch of channels and everybody's music's completely different, but we all at each other's shows fucking supporting each other, even if we don't like. And I love this community here on YouTube because I don't see that anywhere else in the world. We have something really special, and yeah, it's kind of a thing where you're guarded about it as well. You don't want new people to come in and bring their bullshit with them, but at the same time, you want it to grow, right? Because the more new people that come in, the more baggage people can bring. But yeah, look, the scene, it's an interesting thing, you know. What about, I mean, how often do you gig currently? Are you gigging a lot or not?
We have not played a show in 13 months.
Wow.
So
wow.
Yeah. Well, we worked on we did 2 full recordings last year. We did 2 albums. And I moved as well. I relocated because I retired from my job. So there was a lot of logistical things that took precedence over worrying about playing shows or anything for me. So, the other issue with this band, like Wreck-Defy, is I'm the only guy that lives up here, right? Like, so my singer Wags lives in Ohio, and then the drummer Mark lives in San Francisco. So the rehearsals are the issue to come together before a show. That's the issue, is because you know what it's like. You can't cheat the audience. You got to put in 3 or 4 days, 8 to 10 hour days of rehearsals. At least I'm not confident if we don't do that, and to at least be that, so we could be that efficient, to make sure we're performing like a well-oiled machine. And that's making sure that everyone knows their parts before you come together to do those sessions, those rehearsals, right? So, but today's climate, everything is so much more expensive to do things, right? And that's the issue. It's not even about the lack of the commitment to wanting to do it. It's the ability to do it financially for everybody. I got no issues playing shows, doing a run of shows and not making a dime, as long as it doesn't cost me money. Like, you shouldn't have to, it shouldn't cost you money to entertain people. It really, especially when you're traveling doing it, especially when you're traveling. So, and with the price of petrol over here, like we're about $2 a liter now. I'm sure, I don't know what it is where you are, but it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Oh yeah.
I don't foresee, like, it's just not practical to go out, and like, we've had opportunities, like we've been asked to play some really good shows, and I'm thankful that people even, considered us and asked and reached out. But, I talked about it with Wags, and I'm like, our singer Wags, and I just like, man, I can't justify spending like 10 grand on airfare, like to do 6 weeks in Europe or something, opening for great bands and stuff, and the experience would be second to none. And it's not about making money. Like I said, as long I could care less if we broke even, that's fine. But you shouldn't have to be charging your own credit card to play shows, you know. So that's kind of where it's at right now, and unfortunately, at least for us, for a band at our level, like we're signed to Massacre Records. Well, Wreck-Defy is, not Gutter Creek, but there is room for us to get tour support as well. Like the label would advance us tour support. We have a contract for that. But the issue is, all you're doing is borrowing money. They're functioning like a bank. So, if you're going to borrow X amount of dollars to rent that bus, or to pay for the fuel to run that bus, or what have you, the motor home, the little coach, whatever it is you get, Is that however humble you want to be, right? At the end of the day, though, you better sell some shirts because now you owe all that money back to your label.
Yeah.
So you've started off before you pull out of your parking lot, you've started off in the red, So the idea is at least to get back to the black so you don't owe any money, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, but for me, as a songwriter and a musician, I just really enjoy the process of writing music more than the live aspect. Don't get me wrong, I love playing shows. I hate the travel component associated with it, the long travel to do like festival one-offs, like we've done a few of those, where it's like, 30, 40 hours of travel to play for 45 minutes. It's
True.
like, whoa. And again, that's rock and roll. Like that's the life, if you're endearing to that, then that's what it is. And I'm honest about it and say it's not my thing. I'd want to sit at home, and I'm like Devin Townsend in the sense, not skillful, not skill wise, to be clear, in the sense that I want to be abundantly creative. I want to keep creating. I want to keep writing and recording music, and it doesn't really always have to come with a tour on its back for me, if that makes sense,
I hear you completely.
So I have no and I have no misconceived, perception of wanting to be famous about any of this either. This whole thing for me was always about the catharsis of the music, of writing it, and what I get out of it as a writer to decompress. When you spit that venomous, angry montage out on those paper when you're writing, it's from the heart. It's not fabricated or contrived. I'm writing about a person. I'm writing about, or the inspiration that someone, that made you feel that way, and that came out on paper. So the thing that the fact that we're signed with Massacre Records, that I appreciate, because like I said, I'm not doing this to play big, long, extensive tours or anything. I just appreciate that someone's paying or offsetting the cost of mixing these records, that's great that I don't have to pay for it to record these albums. So we have a label that does that, right? That covers the cost of the album. So there's no real money to be made, but at the same time, it's not costing us any money to make these records. Do you follow? So it's just that it's perfect, because for the way I like to function as like a songwriter, it's just a medium by which I can use Master Records to put my music out, and they sell enough units that it's beneficial for them. So everyone's happy.
And we're going to be happy.
I really wish it was more feasible.
Yeah,
I wish it was more feasible, Jade, to play shows, and I wish that my band all resided within a tank of gas within, at least that distance from each other, but that's just not reality. So, yeah, it's just not cost effective right now. Not to say that there won't be any shows, but there's no future plans for any shows currently. Let's put it that way.
But at least we have the music, and we're going to listen to some right now. This is Wreck-Defy, Under the Sun. Grab your ankles. Let's urge, baby.
Darkness
welcome back, everybody. How good was that? Yeah? Kill it. Whoa. So we're at our midway point, and I need to let you know that today's show is sponsored by our dear friends at DistroKid, of course, and I'm going to let me from the past tell you about that now in the future because I'm in Australia and you're all way behind. So let's do it right now. Let's oge. This presentation is proudly sponsored by DistroKid. Introducing DistroKid, your ultimate music distribution solution. For just $29.99 a year, DistroKid empowers you to release unlimited tracks on all major music platforms worldwide, including Spotify, Apple Music, TikTok, and more. Plus, use my link distrokid.com/VIP/JadeStarr and get 7% off your first year. You'll also keep 100% of your royalties and gain access to valuable tools like instant verification on Spotify and detailed revenue analytics. Don't let your music go unheard. Join DistroKid today and take your music career to the next level. Thank you, DistroKid, for sponsoring today's presentation. Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, DistroKid. We love you and love what you do. Thank you. I love you, DistroKid. Thank you very much for sponsoring the show. As always, let's get our guest back on. Dude, that solo melted my face in that song.
Right on.
It was awesome. Let's talk about Wreck-Defy. So Wreck-Defy 2016, it starts out as a solo thing with you, and you start, looking for people to join and start bringing these ideas to life. From what I recall, these were ideas from a while ago that you just bought in and decided to call it Wreck-Defy?
Yeah, I was so the guy that ended up doing the vocals and actually the bass too on the first record, Fragments of Anger. So he's my buddy Justin. I was inspired by the fact that he had actually did a record with his band. So he had a band called Alpha Kill in the Winnipeg scene, and they were active. They played quite often, and I was buddies with him. I was buddies with the drummer, Derek Kroll. More on Derek later, actually. We can talk about him. He became an active member in Gutter Creek for, the first 3 albums. So anyway, I was inspired by the fact that Justin made a record. So I had written all these songs that, again, we talked about I had a career in law enforcement. So there was a time in my life, probably about 10 years, where I never even picked up my guitar. I never touched it.
Wow.
So all this, and I had written all that music like in high school, when I was like 16, 17, 18 years old. All the songs on that album, Fragments of Anger, were written then. All of them. So it was very primitive, you know what I mean, by the standards of what I'm doing now. But at the time, I was encouraged by, what Justin had done. He wrote his own stuff. He recorded it, tracked it. And I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was interesting stuff. And I thought, well, I'd like to see my songs come to life too, just put a stamp on it for just shits and giggles, just for myself, no intentions of playing shows off it, no intentions of anything. And I did, however, talk to some people, musicians that advised me that the one thing you don't want to cut corners on is your mix. Don't falter on your mix, because the product you'll get back is only going to be as good as the mix.
Yep.
So no matter how good the songs are, you can have the best songs on the planet. If they're mixed wrong, it's not going to get quality or justice warranted to it. So having said that, in the Canadian metal scene, there's a lot of bands in that sort of cult level. Untimely Demise was one of them. I don't know if you're familiar with that band out of Saskatchewan. There's a couple of those members in that band are Into Eternity now. So the guitar player, Matt Cuthbertson, anyway. So anyways, his brother and him had that band Untimely Demise, and they'd used Glen Drover, ex-Megadeth alumni, to mix their albums. So I just inquired, how do you get in touch with Glenn? And I was able to do that. And I asked him about mixing this record. And when I reached out to him, he said, who's doing the drumming for you? And at the time, it was going to be Derek Kroll. because Derek was part of the whole, he was an alpha kill with Justin, and it was just a matter of convenience and everything. So, and he offered up his brother, Shawn, like, also ex-Megadeth alumni. He said, well, why don't I get Shawn to come in and do all the drums for this record? He goes, it'll just be easier for me, and blah, blah, blah. And he gave me this speech of how it was going to be more beneficial for him. And I thought, well, I'm not going to say no to that. I'd be a fool. So you know what I mean? So, so now you've got two guys, that had some notoriety, if you will, right, with some pull in the industry, albeit at that metal underground level, but they put their stamp of approval by putting their name on something, like it. So when we had this record done, the Fragments album, Justin said to me, he said, why don't you shop that record and see if you can get a vinyl deal? Then we can get vinyl records for us, we can each get our own copy of vinyl. How cool would that be? So I said, oh, okay. So next thing you know, we sent the demos out to a couple labels, and that Alone Records out of Greece, they did a limited run of vinyl. Like, they did 2 different colors, and then they sold out. So that's the thing, is it grew legs, albeit at an independent level, but it grew legs. So then it was like, well, man, this would be really cool. Then let's do another record. So, but I didn't have any material left. I had 2 songs left, actually. I shouldn't say I didn't. I had 2 songs left. So 2 more songs that made it onto the follow-up were the last of the high school tracks. And after that, it was all new material, if you will. But you know what? That was the motivating factor, was that it sold out, like all the LPs, and that was really encouraging. That there may be people that might want to listen to this stuff. So, and again, never disillusioned by it. We're not talking 3 million copies. We're talking 300 copies, right? So never disillusioned by it. But at the same time, I'm a humble guy. I'm just thankful that somebody wants to listen to it. And those sales, so what those labels did, if I remember correctly, they didn't give us any money. Okay, so what that label did was they sent us 100 copies of the album. And then we sold those for like $30 a pop, right? And it more than paid for the cost to mix the record. So when little opportunities like that keeps the ball rolling forward, we were talking about that, and then it's kind of encouraging, So, and then the label sold out their, what they had pressed. So yeah, it kind of had like this, albeit cult following, underground thing, but it just mushroomed really quickly. And I enjoyed it, like, writing so much. Like I said, there was a time in my life where I'd never even touched the instrument. So when I did get back into picking up the guitar, it took a while to get back to, like, get your chops up, of course, right? But within like a few months, I noticed that, like, because what I'd been listening to had changed too in that time.
Yeah.
So now writing music was a different. It was from a different place now. I think the Fragments of Anger record is basically like, it's extremely primitive, and it's me wanting to emulate or sort of copy, my heroes at the time, or my musical peers at the time, and if you hear riffing in there that parallels something off P-Cells or something off the New Order or something, I'm not surprised, because I immersed myself in that music, and those songs were written, like they were almost A-B'd to that stuff as I was listening to it, Nothing was ripped off. I'm not saying that, but you can hear
that's your inspiration.
Directly you can hear something, and that's right. And some of those songs, it's like, yeah, that sounds like Megadeth, right. That sounds like Testament, and totally, you're not wrong when people say that. I'm not offended at all when people say that to me. Now, having said that, the albums of today, I think they sound like Wreck-Defy. I don't think they sound like. I think we've established our own identity musically, but it took some time, to and that has to do with me as the writer. The pressure's on you to develop your identity, at least for the moniker that, Wreck-Defy is, that thrash monster, And what happened was when I teamed up with Wags, it's just that was like the yin and the yang connected, like Aaron Randall, the singer prior to him, who sang in Annihilator. I mean, he's arguably the best singer that's ever sang in Wreck-Defy. And that's not a diss at Wags. What I'm saying is, like, from the ability to do vocal layering and just his knowledge of music and stuff, like, Aaron's probably the most skillful singer that way. Now, having said that, he can't hit those shrieky high notes and stuff that Wags can do.
Right.
Those King Diamond, Judas
Yeah,
Priest,
yeah.
Rob Halford screams. Yeah, he can't do that. So it's not about who's better than the other guy. It's like one guy's got his game and what he brings, you know, and the other guy's got his thing. But I think, you know, Wags said it best in an interview a couple of years ago when he was plugging, I think, the last record. He said, you know, what he brings to the Wreck-Defy table is Aaron's amazing, but what he brings is that he just tightens that metal screw a couple more turns. And it's like, so I know that sounds so like pathetic and cheesy in its analogy, but it's so true. He gives it a little more grit, you know, and it just a little more attitude, you know, and I think that's our sound. Is Wags vocals over these technical, intense thrash riffs, you know, and we've like I said, we take pride in having the melodies always being part of the track, never omitting it, never being heavy for the sake of heavy, you know. So it's been a lot of fun writing these records. It's been cathartic every album, but it's also been something that I've been able to branch out and learn. Because every song you write, you learn more about how to write a song, you know. So I was recently asked about what my favorite song was on the record, and I really had to think about it. And I wasn't being cheeky with the guy. I don't listen to my music for gratification. When I do a record, I live with it through the mixing process. And you're trying to get the volumes and the master levels at, you know, proper, so that not everything sounds audibly perfect as well as you can be. And then after that, I don't really listen to it except to dissect it and to pick apart something that could have been done differently. And then I keep that in the recesses of my mind so that when I'm writing something follow up to that, I focus on what I did wrong, or what, maybe not wrong isn't the right term, but how I should have done something differently. Because you live with the song after a while, and it's like, yeah, you know, it's good, but it would have been better had I done this, or had we doubled that part, or, you know, brought the chorus back in one more time, or so more impactful, you know. The point I'm trying to make is I only listen to my music to critique it. I don't listen to it to revel in it.
Right.
I like listening to other people's music to get inspiration. The inspiration that I have is going to be already within me, like every other artist. It's already within you. You just got to kind of figure out how to get it out, right? So listening to your own stuff all the time, I think, could lead to some serious psychological and ego problems too, right? So I choose to listen to stuff that is what I deem better than my music, which is most of the thrash bands that I grew up listening to. So I listen to what they're doing now, like the New Testament, Parabellum. I'm a big Accept fan. The Accepts remain fairly active over the years, especially with the comeback of Mark Tornillo, their new singer. So I'm still listening to like all these metal bands that I grew up on as a kid, and I'm still drawing inspiration from what they're doing. You know, lyrically, everything is based upon life, you know. I very rarely would I write something that's like a fantasy-based theme. You know, I've written about werewolves and stuff like that because I'm fascinated with them. But most of the stuff is based on human emotion, like anger and violence and stuff, and it's just factual. It's you know, people watch horror movies, you know, to you know, and it's not, people make horror movies rather, doesn't necessarily mean they're violent people, you know. Like the guys that make these films, it's just, that's right. So it's not an extension of me, of my personality, but it is within my subconscious how I feel and think about certain things, right? So doesn't mean you'd act on those emotions, my God. But a lot of the lyrical content, but a lot of the lyrical content, it is mean and it is vicious, but that's how hurt and how driven you are to express yourself in some of those, when you're referring to those parts, right? So you know, and that's why you never mention a name in a song either, you know, like you're already sort of denigrating a person mentally when you're writing that song. You can picture that person's face, and I can anyway. So, you know, you keep it so it's sort of like, you know, it's sort of incognito, you know.
Well, you know, look, we lived through the PMRC days. We lived through the Satanic Panic days where, you know, they tried to say that, oh, you wrote a song about this and that. Carcass wrote a song about digging up a corpse. So obviously they want to dig up corpses. It's like, you can't, you know, and no logic behind that at all too. So, you know, because if you go back to the art of the Black Plague, did the people who painted that stuff, were they for the Black Plague? No, obviously not, but they're reflecting what's going on around you. So art reflects what is happening in the world, no matter what it is. Horror films, all this stuff, it is a reflection of what we see, what we feel, and what we experience. With this band too, you've released a shitload of albums, so they're all on Bandcamp here, links in the description, everybody. They're all available on streaming services. What has been the turnover of band members? Because as you've said, you've had some pretty impressive people, you know, from Annihilator. Like, man, I'm a massive Annihilator fan. They're a huge part of my musical growth, you know, who've come through a bit of a revolving door. Has there been a lot of band changes, and who are some of the people who've been in the band over the years?
Well, you know what, Wags, the current singer, we've been together since 2020. So we're going on our 6th year together.
Right.
And my only complaint working with Wags is that we didn't team up 20 years sooner.
Right.
Because we get along great. Wags and you know what? Wags and I think are a really good example. I'm going to give us a little toot our own horn here for a second. We are complete polar opposites. Our ideology is completely different when it comes to politics, when it comes to religion, when it comes to a whole array of things. And I'm being straight up honest with you. We have never had an argument about anything. Because we already know that we don't see eye to eye on that stuff. We already know this. Yeah. So it's not discussed. We talk about music. We focus on music and things that we connect on, you know, like smoking weed. No, but seriously, I'm being serious when I say, yeah, I'm just being cheeky, but in all honesty, it's been a great opportunity for me to find a guy of his talent that is not afraid to sing my lyrics and just be, you know, 100% committed to this project. So Wags has been a godsend. Without Wags, when Aaron left the band, we did 2 records with Aaron Randall. Powers That Be was a really good record, and it did a lot for us at the time. It was really successful. Like, it sold a lot of units. They did a couple of pressings. Punishment 18 Records out of Italy. We had to sign a multi-deal on that record. Doc Gator Records out of Switzerland did the vinyl pressing, and Punishment 18 out of Italy, which is Corrado Barretto's label, they did the CD, and the CD sold really well, apparently. Like, I didn't see any of that, but from what I know, they did a second pressing of it, so they sold a couple thousand copies, which was awesome for, you know, an indie, you know, underground band at the time. But having said that, so Aaron, I don't know if you've heard that record, but a lot of people to this day still revere that as their favorite Wreck-Defy album. And you know, Aaron Randall was such a great singer. Like, when I reached out to Aaron to do the record before that, he was the first guy I reached out to. I didn't have a short list of names. I was like, who do I want to work with? And he's a Canadian, you know, so there was that sort of lineage there. So I reached out to him just through social media, sent him some demo tracks, and he was game. It was that simple. Like, humble guy, you know, very talented, had his home studio, real simple to work with. Having said that, he wanted to do his own project with Kai, that worked with Tommy Lee from Motley Crue, rather. He wanted to do that project. I think they called it Seconds to Midnight. They have a video on YouTube. Check it out. I can't remember the name of the song, but it's cool. It's darker stuff than what Wreck-Defy is. It's got like a new metal kind of vibe to it. a little more down tuned, you
Yeah.
know, and it's just a different sounding music. It's cool. It's Aaron Randall, so the vocals are killer. But anyway, what I'm getting at, sorry, what I'm alluding to here. I'll get to my point here. Don't waste your time here.
You're not wasting my
The
time, mate.
the
It's your 2 hours, not mine.
right on. So when so Aaron Randall, you can agree with me. He's an amazing singer.
Yeah.
So it's like, so where do you go from there, right? It's
Right.
like Aaron steps away from Wreck-Defy. You're just finding your stride. You're on your third record. You're just starting to sell units now. It's like, where do you go from here when your singer steps away? It's like, fuck. So at the time, there was, I didn't know what to do. That's when Gutter Creek actually became a genesis, was at that time. I started pondering, well, maybe I should just do something else, because I had all this other music that wasn't suitable to be called Wreck-Defy, because Gutter Creek, to me, doesn't sound anything like Wreck-Defy. So anyway, I was listening to, various bands, and one of the bands at the time was a band called Shatter Messiah. They had an album dropped in 2007 called Never to Play the Servant. And Wags Wagner is the singer on that. And to me, that is probably the greatest debut album of the 2000s. It's 2000 to 2010. I don't think there's a better debut record that dropped in that 10-year span. Now, that's a bold statement. It's subjective, but it's just my opinion. And a lot of that had to do with how great Wags sang on that record. Like, it was 15 tracks, and he did everything from clean to like the most guttural stuff to all points in between. He could do it all. So I thought, wow, man, that guy's a really good. And I liked his tone. I liked his tonal quality too. And I was like, man, that guy can really sing. So I thought, maybe, what would it hurt? I'll reach out to this Wags guy and see if he'd be interested in working with me. Because you needed a singer that was really substantial to replace Aaron Randall.
Yep.
Right? Like, what I'm saying? Like, it was so in my mind. It was like, how am I going to top that? Or how am I going to compete with that to make this even viable to move forward? So it was like a fleeting moment there where I was like, I don't even know if this should be, entertained. Maybe just put it to rest and just do this new band thing or something. So luckily for me, I reached out to Wags. Wags kind of had the same response that Aaron did, and which was, send me some tracks that you're working on. Let's hear what you got. Because he wasn't familiar with Wreck-Defy. So I sent him some tracks, which were demos from the World Enslaved album that we ended up doing together, which is the first album him and I did. And same thing, I sent him, I think I sent him 3 tracks. And within like a couple days, he said, all right, let's do this record. Let's see what happens. And immediately when that record came out, it came out on Doc Gator Records again. It got really awesome reviews, and I noticed that the people were indifferent. All that stress I'd put on my mind, thinking that all that momentum's going to be lost. Nobody even really compared voices. They just said how great Wags sang on it.
Yeah,
they didn't say it was better or worse than Aaron. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So I recognized that I'd made the right decision for what I was trying to accomplish to move forward. But now I know, like, talent aside, it's just been he's been such a great guy to work with. Like, that's been the best part about all this, is it's been fun to work with him. If it was painstaking, I would just sever. I'm too old to have fucking issues. I like the music too much to have an issue with somebody. Like, if there's someone that's like a cancer on what we're trying to do, then it's just too easy to sever that cord. Greg Christian was in the band. I toured with Greg. Greg's got a long history with Testament. Greg was a rock star for all intents and purposes. Greg and I, things changed. So Greg's no longer a part of it, but I understand that he may still be active musically. I think he's doing something with Havoc Hate again, which he did do a record with that Havoc Hate band. I don't know if you know that band, but I think they're doing another album. So I think that's what he's up to. I haven't spoken to him in a while, but as for drummers, Shawn Drover did the first album. He was never officially a member, just a guest guy. David O'Neill, aka David Allen, he did He did Remnants, Powers, World Enslaved, Dissecting the Leech, and that's it. Okay, so he did those. Oh, and he did the EP, the covers EP as well. And Dave's got his band. Oh shit, I can't think of their name now. I'm drawing a blank here. Dave's got another band in San Francisco that's very active. They're just a local band. They don't actually have any physical releases that I'm aware of, but they play a lot of local scenes. A lot on the local scene, rather, opening for like the likes of like Exodus and bands like that, or Death Angel, whoever's playing at that level in that area. They're one of the bands that do the house stuff, So they've got a good little niche there. I had Eve Austin play he did 2 records as a session player. For one record was Hybridized. Another record that hasn't come out yet is called Rise of the Vigilante. It's a concept record. And this newest album that we're just finishing now, called Unleashing the Beast, the original bass player from the first album, Justin, came back full circle, and he's just finished doing all his bass tracks for the new record, which was really cool. And there's that whole connection with music, right? There's someone from 10 years ago from my past, and this music brings us back together. That's exactly the whole reason why we're in contact again, is because of the music. So pretty awesome stuff, Jade.
The one thing about metal musicians that I think we can agree with worldwide is that we're all a bunch of sluts when it comes to playing in different bands, right? We all slut around in so many different bands. I know Melbourne's like that, right? There's drummers that are in this band and they're in 3 other bands, and that's just the way it works. We're going to play some more music. I want to play another Gutter Creek song, and then we'll come back, talk about Gutter Creek and talk about the recording process, and then we'll bring this thing home. This is, folks, so Matt's other band, Gutter Creek, and this is Find a Way Out. Are you ready? Let's go!
I'm not broken, just bent out of shape.
Awesome stuff, man. Very catchy music. We've got about we've roughly got about 12 and 13 minutes kind of thing, so we've got time to play the last song. I've got to end right on the dot today because Pete Johns is following me and I dump everyone over there. Recording process, just is this, do you record is it like a tape thing or recording parts at home, then you send it to somebody else, they do it, or is you're obviously not getting in a studio together, are you?
No, Gutter Creek, we actually got to do that in Trident Studios in California, where I flew out and tracked the last two records. I tracked them there, and then Mark, the drummer, showed up, and Greg Christian came in, and we, were there while I tracked, which was really cool. And then Soren, obviously, for the first two records, like Geoff Thorpe did the vocals on the last record. Geoff being from Vicious Rumors. I met Geoff through Juan some years back when he was working on the Wreck-Defy stuff, because him and Geoff have had a working relationship on the Vicious Rumors stuff since 2006. So 20 years those guys have been working together. So that's how I got introduced to Geoff Thorpe. And then we became friends, and then we worked, he's done some guest solo stuff on some Wreck-Defy songs, and one or two, I think. And then I asked him to do the vocals on that Gutter Creek album that we just put out, Alive and Well, last year. Having said that, Soren, the original singer from the first two albums, he's from Denmark, right? He's in Copenhagen. So we did tour once, Canada. He flew up here, and we toured. And it was, like I said, we talked about the logistical nightmares. It was a great time. And we got to expose, our songs to people that would never hear those songs. So it was really cool, because we played places like, we played small towns. Like, we played clubs that don't get a lot of bands. And I booked those shows purposely, specifically knowing that we would get a turnout, because they don't get anybody. So, it's like they're starving for entertainment. So if you had it didn't matter what kind of band I think you had come through there, you'd probably get, a good turnout of sorts, right? So we did that, and the turnouts were great. The shows were fun. But again, the cost and the logistics behind it all, we broke even just barely, and like it's, almost $3,000 now for Soren to fly over, to come to Canada, right? So for us to do rehearsals and stuff, to play shows. So, and that's just one guy, right? So it's not as bad to ship the other guys from the States, because at least we're on the same continent. But just the same, that's always the hindrance, is the cost of everything, unfortunately. But sorry, I'm getting off topic here. You'd asked about the recording stuff and the members of the band. So the original singer, Soren, who was on the first two records, are self-titled, and then Fangs to the Face. Soren's back to do this fourth album. It's called Blood of the North. 8 tracks and a cover song, and it probably going to be the last Gutter Creek album, I would think. And that has a lot to do with the state of the world, actually, more than anything, and just priorities in life, And Soren, like I said, he's in Copenhagen, so things are even more dismal for him, cost-wise and so forth, over there in Europe right now, with what's going on with the war and all that bullshit. So, he's got kids, he's got 2 boys and stuff. So, I mean, family takes precedence, and, this music thing is an afterthought, family first, then the music for some of us, myself included. So, yeah, that's where we're at. We're loving what we're doing. We're having a great time, but let's be honest about it. This could be probably the last one we do. So, I'm really happy that he came back to do the record again, like the final album, the guy from the first 2 albums. So, and, he should have been on the last record, but again, there was just some issues, what was going on with the cost to get him tracked overseas in a studio and stuff was just not viable for what we're doing, because unlike Wreck-Defy, Gutter Creek doesn't have label support.
Right.
So we're independent. We're using DistroKid. We spoke about this to release our stuff, and
yep.
We've pressed CDs and so forth, and they've sold well, but we haven't had a vinyl release since the first album. The first album came out on a label, but the last 2 we've just put out on our own volition, and we'll probably do the same for this last one too. But having said that, Anybody listening that wants to press some vinyl for us, reach out.
I do love the contrast between the two bands. They're very clear. Like you listen to the first track we played on the show today with Dissecting, and it was pretty full on, like, pedo stuff, and it was like, brutal.
Yeah.
And then this stuff's like that song there, I felt was much really positive, and so But the thing that I think between both bands, your production's very, very, very high quality. That's why I ask about recording. So however you're doing it, production is very, very neat.
Well, that's a testament. So that's a testament to Juan Urtiaga, who's doing the mixes for both bands.
Right.
He's out of Trident Studios in the legendary Trident Studios out of Pacheco, California. But I mean, Juan's done everybody. He's tracked everyone from Violence to Exodus to Death Angel to Sadist.
Sadist, man. What
if you're in the Bay
band.
Area. Yeah, he did their comeback record, Out for Blood.
Yes.
You remember that album?
Yeah, I do, of course.
Yeah, Juan mixed that. That's his. He produced that album, actually. So, funny enough, the Gutter Creek stuff, Juan played bass on that last album,
right.
Alive and Well, that we did. The Geoff sent. Yeah, and he's a damn good bass player in his own right too. So, hey, I've been blessed to work with so many talented people. It's funny because the songwriting is what it is, but you can't really take credit for it if the songs blow up, and because their performances are what make them awesome. You could write great, a great song, a great composition, what have you, but if the performances are lackluster, that's going to translate too, right? So I've been so fortunate to have all these great musicians, partake in these songs that I've written, and they've crafted them to become what they are, So I don't feel that the performance aspect gets enough mention. It's like when you open a sleeve, like the label asks, who wrote the songs, who wrote the music, who wrote the lyrics. So I wrote the music, I wrote the lyrics. It's like, okay, so music and lyrics by Matt Hanchuck. It's like, yeah, but there should be a perforance credit.
Yeah, no
like
shit.
You know what I mean? Like there really should be. Yeah, and I feel almost guilty at times that it's because quite honestly, these songs are they're nothing without Mark's drumming,
right.
or Derek's drumming, or whoever's drumming on the album, and equally with the way the vocals are sang. It's like, yeah, you wrote the lyrics, great, but listen to who's expressing them that way, So there should be a recognition for performance credit, I think anyway. What do I know?
When Brad told me about your music and I first got into Wreck-Defy, he was like, my friend Matt, he's got this band Wreck-Defy. Brad plays a completely different style of music to you. He's punk, and he's
sure.
like, they're
he's
really
like a
cool.
Johnny Cash.
These days, absolutely. And the thing that really blew my mind is here you are making the music that you grew up listening to, right? That's what I take away from it. And it's the music I grew up listening to as well, right? Overkill or, Annihilator, Sadist, all that stuff. This is just bread and butter. You mentioned Violence, Run for Your Life and the Serial Killer. It's classic stuff. But here you are, with these people who are your fucking idols, who made this guy, they're fucking making music with you. So you're absolutely right. Without the performances, they're just songs, aren't they, right? You can write music, but
that's right.
These people, and that's the interesting thing about DistroKid. I don't use this function, but you can actually go in and put in all the performers' names and everything, who played guitar and everything. I don't know where that shows up on Apple Music, if it does or not.
Well, so I took flack for that. I can tell you something funny. You brought that up. So I took flack for that. Somebody was being smart ass in an interview or a review of the new album, and they went on to say something that I'm not sure if this band is still called Wreck-Defy or if they're called Wreck-Defy featuring Chris Poland. And I'm like, what the fuck? So listen. So I started reading, right? And I understood why he said that, because everything that we entered. So the last record, Hybridized.
Yeah.
I ended up releasing Hybridized through DistroKid, and there was a contractual issue there with Massacre. it's a long story, but
Right.
I don't want to. I can tell we're keeping track of time here. So, but listen to this. So, Hybridized gets released through DistroKid, and like you say, when you enter the song, it prompts you: are there any guest musicians on this track? So, Chris Poland played guest guitar solos opposite me on every song. So he's on every song on the record. So I had to add his name. So now when it loads onto like a streaming platform, it says Wreck-Defy featuring Chris Poland for each friggin' song off the record. It is what it is, man. You know, it is what it is.
You can go and change. You can actually go and change that. It'll take a few weeks to update, but you can change it. I think that,
it's asking for it. So yeah.
Yeah, sure. They've added a new thing in there too, where you can actually put individual band members and what they did in it. I don't think it doesn't show up in the title. I don't know where it shows up, but there is an option to do that. Anyway, we are running out of time, so look, thank you for coming on here, folks. All the links are in the description. We've been, pumping all the music through today, the band camps, everything's in the description. My last question that I ask everybody who comes on this weird show is, Matt, if somebody was considering becoming creative and they come to you and they say, I'm considering doing something creative, when would you suggest the best time for them to get off their ass and start?
Immediately.
Absolutely.
Immediately. And the reason for that is because time waits for no one. And none of us are promised tomorrow. And things happen that are out of our control. And that's the way the universe works. And if you've got a goal or an objective that's eating at you, that you feel you challenge yourself or you feel obligated to tackle, then you need to get off your butt and go do it, because no one's going to do it for you. And you're only going to get better at it the more you immerse yourself into it. So it's like anything else. The more you put into it, the more you'll get out of it.
100%. It's not a trick question. It's the same answer from everybody, right?
Yeah.
That's what.
But you did put me on the spot, though.
this channel is, like our motto here is we all rise together, right? That is the thing, You pump people up, but give people their flowers. And, you may not like everything that people do, but just encourage people, right? And do it now. Why wait? And don't be afraid of the red light fever, because we all do deal with it. We all deal with imposter syndrome. Who gives a shit? Just go for it. We're going to close today with another Wreck-Defy track. I want to thank everybody in the live chat for being here. You all rock as usual. If you're watching on the replay, thank you very much. Do the likey, subscribe, all that fancy stuff. It makes the algorithm happy and all that jazz. Tomorrow, folks, we've got an app review coming up. We've got a live stream, an app date. And on the weekend, of course, we are doing the creative hour, where I have to make a song in an hour, or I get punished, or whatever happens on that stupid show. And the big news is, folks, my new channel is launching this Saturday at the usual time that this show happens. Walk With Me is the channel where I take you around. It's a travel vlog. Most of you know it from being on this channel. We're kicking off a brand new channel, very exciting stuff of me traveling around, taking you to fantastic places and playing your music as the backing. So hopefully you can come and join us for that. We're going to close today with Apocalypse of Hope. Thank you so much, Matt, for joining us. Please hang on the end of the line till the show's finished so I can say goodbye to you and all that jazz. Anything you want to say before we scooch?
Thanks for having me on the show, Jade, and I appreciated your questions and our time talking together. Cheers. You rock. This is Wreck-Defy, and this is Apocalypse of Hope. So for the last time today, let's motherfucking Oge! Destroy
Thank you very much for hanging out, folks. And a big thank you to DistroKid for sponsoring today's show. We're going to dump you over to Pete Johns. Let's OG.